Hey guys, what is up? It is me, Pagey, here once again with another video on The Flash Season 7. So tomorrow is DC Fandom from when this video will come out, and I honestly wasn't expecting any Flash news or anything like that to come out before the extended Flash panel that will air over at Fandom tomorrow, but well, yep, just some stuff came out and was like, here you go. Now this seems it is going to be a segment or topic that's brought up in the panel that will be available to watch tomorrow at Fandom. But Entertainment Weekly decided to release this information and the quotes and all that from it, early before the panel went live. Now, they were able to do this as an employee at Entertainment Weekly hosted the Flash panel. So that would be why they have the quotes and all that and were able to do it. And I'm assuming they're doing that just to remind people like, hey, Fandom's tomorrow. Here's a little sneak peek or a little piece to bite on, whatever you want to call it. But the topic at hand, in regards to this, has to do with an elephant in the room type situation that a good amount, if not a lot of people, were wondering whether, the Flash was going to address this season or not, including myself. So we do have an answer to all of that now. Yeah, of course, throughout the video, be sure to let me know your various opinions and thoughts in the comments section down below. I'm sure most of you would have an opinion on this, so feel free to fire away in the comments. I'm always curious to hear what they are, whether they're positive or negative. I always want to, I'm always curious to hear what everyone has to say. And of course, if you're going to enjoy the video and you're looking forward to Fandom tomorrow and just the Flash Season 7 in general, why not drop a like on it to show your support? So in an interview late last month, it was the interview where they sort of like discussed what they were going to be doing with Ralph Dibny going forward. I'm sure some of you, if not most of you, would remember that, either reading it or just hearing, maybe myself talking about it. Anyway, in that interview, Eric Wallace, the showrunner for The Flash, was asked if the ongoing talk and discussion around the depiction of law enforcement in TV and other pop culture would impact The Flash, seeing that it's, its main character, as well as another figurehead in the show, were a part of the police force. They're a part of the Central City Police Department. Of course, those two characters being Barry Allen and Joe West. Barry being the forensic scientist, Joe being the captain. Now, without going into any deep specifics, Eric Wallace was able to confirm that Joe West will have a topical storyline around that in Season 7. Now, personally, this doesn't surprise me too much, if at all. We have seen some of the other Arrowverse shows deal with social issues and current events in episodes here and there throughout the years. I'm sure most of you would remember Arrow doing the gun control episode. Supergirl's addressed Black Lives Matter, before this year. Like, they did it like 2 seasons ago or something. And I think Transphobia in the most recent season. Black Lightning's addressed many social issues, and even Legend of Tomorrow has addressed various social and cultural issues throughout history in very interesting ways. The Flash, however, has always been a show that has never really leaned into all that for the most part. But here is what Eric Wallace had to say on all of this, and it's actually sort of interesting because he does dampen, I think, what a lot of people's worries might be. Joe's storyline this season is inspired by the societal changes happening in today's world, because with everything we're all waking up to each day in 2020, I felt there was a great opportunity here, even within our fantastical, family-oriented show, to comment indirectly on truths folks could easily recognize and do so in an entertaining way. As we're working our way through Joe's wonderful storyline this year, Joe gets challenged by the events of the world that are going on nowadays. Of course, in a sci-fi superhero way, because we're on a superhero show. And he really rises up. I'm so proud of the character, and I'm so excited for Jesse to take Joe in just a little bit of a new direction. Because Joe's a good man with a good heart, and if he sees injustice, he's not a person who turns a blind eye to it. He's a person who says something and does something. I'm happy to report that we're working that actually into the scripts right now. It's not in the first batch, it's more in the middle of Season 7. It'll be very obvious as Joe goes through these changes and ends up in a place that's unexpected for him, but that is honorable and very aware of today's problems from a law perspective. So it's made the storytelling for his character's storyline, I think, the most exciting thing that I've been able to write for him since I've been the showrunner. I just can't wait for folks to see it. We were laughing about it the other day in the writer's room. We're like, I never saw this story coming for Joe. How cool was this? And how interesting that we can actually comment on what's happening in the world, but do it in a fun, lighter, and entertaining way. It just makes our show richer, and it makes the character, I think, richer. It makes us love him even more. So you can even get, I think it's pretty much that last half of that statement where you really get the feel of, okay, they're not going to go so heavy-handed, shove it in your face and stuff, and maybe, I don't know if I just necessarily agree about making it fun and light just because of the seriousness of it. The fact that it sounds like it's not going to be so heavy-handed is probably good, just because also it's important to remember the Flash is an international show. I don't know if you can really like lean too heavy into stuff that is more of a domestic issue for the most part. But yeah, I was a bit, I'm a bit caught off guard by like the use of like fun, light, and entertaining when we're talking about some of the law enforcement stuff anyway. But anyway, as soon as I like not only read the article, but just saw the title of the article, I knew this was going to like what's a phrase? Like open a can of worms pretty much on social media, and I wasn't wrong. I wouldn't suggest looking at the replies on like mainly the Entertainment Weekly tweet that, you know, publicized this article. Maybe avoid that. And I can understand like some people's arguments where these shows, or maybe just the Flash in general specifically, is like this escape mechanism, or it's an escape, you know, route. And to maybe even use a more flamboyant word, it's like an oasis for them to escape from the real world and what's going on, and just, you know, enjoy something more lighthearted that's not connected to the real world, whether it be like video games or a TV show or a movie. I can line up with that. I think we all, you know, do that with some of, if not maybe all of the shows we watch or any sort of media we watch. However, when a central part of your show is associated or directly connected with what's going on in the world or the country you are set in, it would be more awkward to not address it than actually addressing it. So I think The Flash is sort of, just because of how it's centered and everything like that, like how many times do we mention Central City Police Department during a season? I wouldn't be able to count on anything. Mention it a lot. I always just say CCPD because I just know don't want to be saying Central City Police Department too much. But then on the other hand, if you look at a show like Supergirl, if they had, you know, for some reason had a storyline with one of their characters around the depiction of law enforcement in their current shape, because as I said, they already did it in like two seasons ago with James Olsen, but with their current slate of characters, I don't know if you could do it. If they went, okay, well, look what's going on in the world at the moment, let's try and depict it on our show, I think that would be out of place, and some would say very forced, as no one on that show would fit that at the moment, or they don't have a connection to the National City Police Department where their show's set. If Arrow, on the other hand, was still in the air, then it would make sense, as there were characters on the show who were a part of the Star City Police Department, so that storyline could work there. Now, it's an important thing to bring up. Some of you would know this, I'm sure some of you would know this, but some people just don't know about it. They chuck the term, oh my god, all these shows are SJW and stuff like that. But it's very important to remember, comics since back in the day, not even now, but back in the day, 80s, 70s, 60s, back in the 30s and 40s with, like, you know, Superman, even Captain America and Marvel, the comics have always addressed social and political and even cultural issues, all of that. The actual thing we should be wondering about all of this is how they do it and in what manner. We shouldn't be asking why they are doing it. It's obvious why they're doing it. I mean, it's current. It fits into the world, and it's always been a part of comics and the superhero genre. It's always been a thing. It always will be a thing. But it matters. Like, the big thing that, you know, needs to be focused on is how they do it and in what manner, and I guess what they achieve from it as well. Now, Eric Wallace does talk about them doing the storyline with Joe, which will start around the middle of the season, so don't expect it to, you know, to start playing out in like episode 1, 2, or 3 or anything for the season. But Eric says that the storyline, while relating to the real world issues, will be done in line with the show and in a sci-fi superhero type of way. Now, I think the most likely thing to happen here, and it seemed to be the most like talked about option based off what I saw on, you know, certain parts of Twitter and stuff like that, you know, the ones that weren't complaining, was that it would be associated with like abuse of power, and also tied in with like metahumans for like the Central City stuff. How they do that would be very, very interesting to see, but it will also be interesting to see whether earlier parts of the season, so stuff from like 1 through to maybe episode 7 or something like that, lead up to this storyline with Joe, and it isn't just something that he does in like a 3 or 4 episode thing, and then it, you know, there's no lead up and there's no lead off, if that makes sense, so stuff to go afterwards. I wonder if they're going to tie into everything that's going on in the season or the overall story for the season. I think that'd be fairly cool, but, you know, it's for us to wait and find out. It is good to see that they're actually going to do a storyline rather than just one episode focused on it, because that's pretty much what's been doing in all the other ones except Black Lightning. So even like Arrow's gun control episode, Supergirl's Black Lives Matter and transphobia episode, and the Legend of Tomorrow ones where they go through history. The Legend of Tomorrow ones is a bit like, you know, you can give some slack there because that's like that's their model of the show. They just go one episode to each, like, a different part of history and stuff like that. So you give them a bit of leeway. But outside of Black Lightning, all the other ones like have just like done a quick one-shot episode rather than like, you focusing on it in like any sort of depth, if that makes sense. And then due to that, because it's a one-shot episode, it's usually shoved in your face than being like subtle or playing into the actual show. But yeah, as I said, it's not till like the middle of the season, maybe after halfway through the season. So I'm sure we'll hear about it more as they start filming, and then as they get closer to the episode or finish filming the episode. But yeah, I'm sure the fandom panel will maybe have more to talk about it. Maybe the other cast members might jump in on it. It is important to remember Jesse L. Martin, who plays Joe, isn't on the panel, so he won't be able to chime in. But we might get some of the other cast giving their thoughts on it as well. But yeah, guys, thanks for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, it'd be awesome if you could drop a like on it to show support. Let me know in the comment section down below your various opinions on this. Do you have any different theories as to how it plays out and everything like that? I'm always curious to hear you guys' opinions, so let me know down there in the comments. And of course, if you are new to the channel, make sure to subscribe. And yeah, I'll catch you guys later. Goodbye.